Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanamma. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. UML lawmakers demand resignation of disputed ministers. Alleged government of lacking accountability to the parliament. Speaker rules government to respond at next House meeting. Ministry of Foreign Affairs claims 5 Nepali nationals held by Ukraine army for representing Russian security force in a safe condition. Diplomatic efforts underway for their safe return to Nepal. Death toll from Israeli attack in northern Gaza on Palestinians waiting for food aid has climbed to at least 193, more than 900 others wounded. And Nepal secure a 3-runs win over Namibia at the triangular T20 International Series to take on the Netherlands tomorrow. Speaker Devraj Ghimire has ruled the government to furnish answers to questions raised at the parliament during the meeting of the House of Representatives slated for 4th of March. The Speaker issued the ruling after the parliamentarians of the opposition parties obstructed the House, saying the Prime Minister did not respond to issues related to disputed ministers. With this, the regular meeting of the lower house has continued. The lawmakers of the opposition parties were prepared to let the parliament meeting move forward after Speaker ruled the government to respond to issues including resignation of disputed ministers and problems of the financial sector. Immediately after the beginning of today's meeting, lawmakers of main opposition CPNUML had said that their protest would continue until the disputed ministers furnished their resignations. They also questioned regarding the absence of the Prime Minister. The UML lawmakers also questioned about ways to ensure the government's accountability towards the lower house. Lawmakers of Rashtriya Prajatantra Party also alleged the government of lacking seriousness towards the victims of financial sector who have arrived in the capital with their issues. Prior to this, the government was to furnish responses to issues raised at the parliament today. However, after the government ignored the process, the Speaker issued yet another ruling. The lawmakers have also drawn the government attention towards the problems of victims of loan sharks and microfinances. Members of Parliament have objected towards the mistreatment of street vendors by the Metropolitan Police of Kathmandu Metropolitan City. At today's meeting of the lower house, the lawmakers stated that the action of the Metropolis Police was illegal. They said that the local government ought to find a solution to the unemployment issue and should not resort to oppression. The Kathmandu Metropolis had physically abused the street vendors in Sundhara area on Wednesday. Some vendors were injured in the process. Ministers from Nepali Congress and CPN Maoist Centre have claimed that the current ruling alliance would not split. Speaking after exiting the meeting of the lower house, Defence Minister Purna Bahadur Khadka and Minister for Communication and Information Technology Rekha Sharma claimed that the coalition would not break up. At a time when disputes inside the ruling coalition are being made public, the two ministers have made such claims. Parties of the ruling alliance are divided regarding who should become the National Assembly chair. Both Nepali Congress and CPN Maoist Centre have been claiming the role for their party. Ministry of Foreign Affairs has claimed that the 5 Nepali nationals held by Ukraine army were in a safe condition. The ministry has added that efforts are underway for their safe return to Nepal. The ministry has said that 5 Nepali nationals held by Ukraine for their involvement in the Russian security forces in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war were interrogated together by Ukraine government officials. Siddharth Dhakal of Kavri, Bikash Rai of Morang, Vivek Khatri of Bardia, Pratik Pun of Rolpa and Ishwar Lamichhane of Gorkha, who were representing the Russian army, were arrested by Ukraine's security forces during the war. The government of Ukraine had corresponded with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nepal to inform about the statements recorded together from all 5 Nepali nationals. In their statement, all 5 Nepali nationals had promised of scrapping their agreement with Russian security forces and returning to Nepal after their release from Ukraine. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has said that diplomatic efforts are underway through the Nepali embassy in Germany for the safe return of the Nepali nationals. The government has opened doors for institutional foreign employment in Japan. The Ministry of Labour recently approved a working procedure to send certain skilled human resources to Japan. Following endorsement of the work procedure, human resource organizations can send workers following required certifications. Prior to this, Nepal and Japan had reached an agreement to send skilled human resource for employment in 2019. Recruitment of workers will now begin on the basis of agreement between Nepali and Japanese organizations. Works of the National Pride Tamur Corridor Road project has been halted as the Minister of Physical Infrastructure and Transport Management has not released a required budget. The project is facing shortage of budget for blacktopping 112-kilometer road section from Mulghat of Dhankuta to Subhanga Khola of Pachthar. The federal government has not been able to release payments for the expressway which links eastern hilly districts to the Tarai region. The Tamur Corridor Road project from Chatara of Sunsari to Pachthar through Mulghat of Dhankuta measures 155 kilometers. Agreements were reached for blacktopping of the 112-kilometer from Mulghat Dhankuta to Pachthar Subhanga Khola and the remaining section in 2 phases. Only 33% works have been completed in the first section and 30% in the second, while the entire project needs to be completed by mid of November 2025. The construction cost of both sections stands at 4.16 billion rupees. The project requires 2 billion rupees this year. However, the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and Transport Management has only allocated 585.9 million rupees. Works of baseline are underway in both sections, but the government has not been able to release funds on the basis of progress being made. With payments yet to be received, the construction companies have begun deploying their human resources and equipment to other projects. The Tamur Corridor Road project holds significance as it reduces the distance between Eastern Hills and Tarai and links Dhankuta, Pachthar, Taplejung up to Chinese Autonomous Region Tibet. The project, which does not face any complications related to felling of trees and disputes related to land acquisition, has been affected by inadequate budget. Distribution of bicycles under the Madhya Province government's popular Chief Minister's Educate Daughters, Save Daughters program has stopped. Despite the Daughters Insurance program underway, distribution of bicycles for merit-based, Dalit and deprived girls of grade 8 to 10 of community schools has yet to resume even after conclusion of court procedures. More than 22,000 girls received their bicycles for free in Madhya Province under the program. Despite the program creating ease for many girls to commute to their schools, the program has halted since 29th of September 2021 after the Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority raided the office of the Chief Minister. The Special Court has issued a clean chit to 4 among the 6 alleged, while it slapped a sentence of 3 months and 10,000 rupees fine to erstwhile Secretary of the Chief Minister Yamlal Bhusal and then Chief of Water Resources, Irrigation and Development Division Bhagwan Jha. However, despite the conclusion of the case, the Madhya Province government has yet to resume the distribution of bicycles. Following the raid of the anti-graft body, the Chief Minister Educate Daughters, Save Daughters has been brought under the Ministry of Social Development from the office of the Chief Minister. However, because of the stance of the Education Directorate under the ministry, around 5,000 bicycles in stock at the storage facility have yet to be distributed. Office of the Chief Minister has formed a task force to study the district-wise details of the distributed bicycles, conditions of the cycles at the storage and the payment for the supplies. Despite the sorry state of the bicycle distribution program, the insurance program for daughters inaugurated by erstwhile President Vidya Devi Bhandari from Birganj has continued since 21st of February 2019. Under this campaign, more than 10,900 daughters have been insured within 5 years. Those insured cannot get married for a period of 20 years and are eligible to receive 300,000 rupees after the age of 20 upon completion of their secondary education. According to the National Census of 2021, female population is around 17,000 less than that of male in Madhya Province. In such a scenario, the Madhya Province government has not been able to introduce any other important programs than the bicycle distribution and insurance for daughters. Service seekers are bearing the brunt because of inadequate staff at the Land Management Office in Dhanusha district. The service seekers have been facing several problems as the overcrowded office does not have a required number of human resource. 6 positions have remained vacant at the office for a long period of time, which has created trouble for the service seekers, even for tasks that can be completed within a single day. It has been learned that more than 400 service seekers reach the office for several purposes, including registration and transfer of ownership. It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, what's your take on the race to construct airports without adequate study? Your options are A. Policy corruption, B. Politics for vote, and C. Result of public pressure. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. The death toll from Israeli attack in northern Gaza on Palestinians waiting for food aid has climbed to at least 193. More than 900 others have been wounded since the incident. Israeli forces opened fire on a crowd of Palestinians waiting for aid on Al-Rashid Street. The Palestinian president has condemned the Israeli attack as an integral part of the genocidal war committed by the Israeli government against the Palestinian people. Responding to the incident, the Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement, Hamas, threatened to stop its truce negotiations with Israel. Hamas described the attack as a brutal, heinous, unprecedented crime in which Israel once again challenges humanity, the international community, and its tools of justice and accountability. The Gaza City and the northern part of the Palestinian enclave are facing catastrophic conditions as a result of food scarcity caused by Israel's months-long siege, according to Hamas-run media office in Gaza. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Thursday condemned the killing of Palestinians in the incident. The Foreign Ministry of United Arab Emirates has called for an independent and transparent investigation into the incident and severe punishment of the responsible party. So far, 30,035 Palestinians have been killed and more than 70,457 others injured in Gaza. Meanwhile, the death toll from a massive fire that raced through a building overnight in Bangladesh's capital Dhaka has reached at least 45 people, while a dozen others are injured. Fire authorities said a gas leak or a stove could have caused the blaze, which started late on Thursday and spread quickly after breaking out in a biryani restaurant and was only reigned in following 2 hours of effort by 13 units of firefighters. Fires are common in densely populated Dhaka, which has experienced a boom in new buildings, often constructed without adequate safety measures. Fires and explosions have occurred due to faulty gas cylinders, air conditioners, and poor electrical wiring. Now, global energy-related emissions of carbon dioxide hit a record high last year, driven partly by increased fossil fuel use in countries where droughts hampered hydropower production, according to International Energy Agency, IEA. Scientists say steep cuts in CO2 emissions, mainly from burning fossil fuels, will be needed in the coming years if targets to limit a global rise in temperatures and prevent runaway climate change are to be met. A global expansion in clean technologies such as wind, solar and electric vehicles helped to curb emissions growth, which was 1.3% in 2022. But a reopening of China's economy, increased fossil fuel use in countries with low hydropower output, and a recovery in the aviation sector led to an overall rise. Moves to replace lost hydropower generation due to extreme droughts accounted for around 40% of the emissions rise, or 170 million tons of CO2. In the European Union, emissions from energy fell by almost 9% last year, driven by a surge in renewable power generation and a slump in both coal and gas power generation. In China, emissions from energy rose by 5.2%, with energy demand growing as the country recovered from COVID-19 related lockdowns. China, however, also contributed around 60% of global additions of solar, wind power and electric vehicles in 2023. Globally, electric vehicles accounted for 1 in 5 new car sales in 2023, reaching 14 million and up 35% on the level of 2022. Security has been beefed up outside the Church of Soothe My Sorrows, where a farewell ceremony for Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny is expected to be held. A religious service for Navali is due to be held at 1400 local time in the Church of the Icon of the Mother of God in the Moscow district of Marino, where Navalny used to live. Navalny will be then buried at the Borisovskoye Cemetery, around 2.5 kilometers away on the other side of Moskva River. Iranians voted for a new parliament today in what is seen as a test of the clerical establishment's legitimacy at a time of growing frustration over economic woes and restrictions on political and social freedoms. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who has called voting a religious duty, was the first to cast his vote in Iran. The election is the first formal measure of public opinion after anti-government protests in 2022-23 spiraled into some of the worst political turmoil since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Iran's rulers need a high turnout to repair their legitimacy damaged after the unrest. But official polls suggest only about 41% of Iranians will vote. Turnout hit a record low of 42.5% in 2020 parliament vote, while about 62% of voters participated in the 2016 parliamentary election. Russia has said that it had captured a new position in the town of Robotyne in Zaporizhia, while the Ukrainian side stated on the same day that its military forces had shot down a Russian fighter jet. According to videos released by the Russian Defense Ministry, the country's forces in southern military district captured and secured a new position in the town of Robotyne. The ministry stated that the Russian army had taken control of the village of Petrovskoye in the direction of Avdiivka, occupying a more favorable position. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine stated on the same day that the country's air force carried out strikes on 8 Russian military personnel and equipment concentration areas, destroying 4 artillery pieces in the previous 24 hours. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has said improved ties with Japan were helping to combat threats from Pyongyang's weapons development and called for help from the international community to bring about unification with North Korea. Under Yoon's conservative administration, Seoul has sought better ties with Tokyo, which have been fraught with historical baggage for years at a time of China's growing influence and North Korea's growing missile and nuclear programs. During a ceremony to mark an independence holiday, Yoon said next year would be the 60th anniversary of normalized diplomatic relations with Japan, and he hoped it could be a chance for the bilateral relationship to reach a higher level. Yoon also said that Seoul would need international help for any prospect of unification with North Korea. Now, researchers in the Amazon have discovered the world's largest snake species, an enormous green anaconda in Ecuador's rainforest that split off from its closest relatives 10 million years ago, though they still nearly look identical to this day. Australian professor Brian Fry from the University of Queensland led an expedition with Will Smith at the Waorani lands in eastern Ecuador in 2022 to get samples of the anaconda's populations. The access was one of the handful granted since the tribe's first contact in 1958. The discovery took place as part of a broader study Fry and Dutch professor were carrying out on the impacts of oil spills are having in the Yasuni Amazon in Ecuador. The researchers collected samples from anacondas across 9 countries. It was thought that there was only one species of green anaconda in the wild, the Anectes murinus, but the scientific journal Diversity this month revealed that the new northern green anaconda belongs to a different new species, Eunectes akiyama. The discovery is believed to show that the 2 species split from each other almost 10 million years ago. Although green anaconda snakes are very similar visually, there is a genetic difference of 5.5%. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.